Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a cafe au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate, episode 150. I am tickled to be back, and I want to begin by first thanking all the listeners for wishing me well last week. I returned from my trip to South Korea. Jet lag held on a little long, and then I got sick and lost my voice. And it's still not entirely back, but it's definitely a lot better. And because of that, I wanted to make sure I made up for my absence. And so today, in this episode, it's 150, but you'll also, in 1 hour, after this one goes live, another new episode will go live. So you have 2 new episodes to enjoy this week. And one will be about life and inspiration, which we're talking about today in episode 150. And in 151, it's all about fashion and bringing in style inspired by the French woman's approach. So a little bit of both of our loves and tying the fun with the practical and just making it all work together. So I do hope you enjoy. And that also means we have 2 petit plaisirs, right? Absolutely. So stay tuned at the end of this episode where I'll talk about a petit plaisir that I think you'll enjoy for less than $10, as well as the one in 151's episode. So today, what are we talking about in today's episode? Well, it's spring, as we all know here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's fall, as we also know in the Southern. But because of spring's arrival last month, and with all the blossoms of spring that have begun to bloom, the scents, the vibrant green grass, and the brilliant pastel hues that are offering their natural talents of awing us mere humans, after a very long winter here in Bend, sometimes it felt as though spring would never come. And we all knew, we're rational, we're intelligent human beings, we knew it was going to come. The blossoms always knew they were going to return. They just needed time. And so that's the topic of today's episode. Give it time. Discovering what is worth the wait. Let's dive right into that topic. I want to begin with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. As many around the globe yesterday celebrated Easter, which manifested from the pagan holiday that coincides with the spring equinox and the earth's reawakening, I found myself reflecting on all around us that requires time in order to flourish. From the dogwood and magnolia blooms to the delicate baking of a souffle, extraordinary, seemingly unimaginable occurrences and revelations require time to incubate, to evolve, and to realize the possibilities which are harbored within. Today, I'm going to share a simple list of 15 significant life events as well as simple but frustrating things that require the exercise of patience and trust that in time beautiful outcomes will materialize. And what I hope to do, because I could have a list far longer than 15, and I think you'll have ideas popping up in your mind, and you'll probably be relating some things to your life that come up. There are so many things that we just need to observe in life and to sit and listen and go, oh, that's right, that does take time. To remind us to be patient, to remind us to take a breath, and to allow ourselves then in that realization to be patient in that moment so we can be present in that moment. I know I have to catch myself from getting worked up and being impatient about a lot of different things. I'm getting better at it, but as my friends and family will attest, I have my moments. I have my moments. So let's get to this list of 15 things that we just need to give it time, and they are certainly worth the wait. Number 1, let's have some fun. A transcontinental flight to a destination on your bucket list. Nobody wants to take a 22-hour flight, but if you know you're going to be arriving, say, in Australia or New Zealand, or flip it on the other side, you're coming from Australia, you're coming to a beautiful destination in the United States. There's so many, so I don't want to single one out. That's worth it. Okay, so you prepare. You pack a beautiful, engaging, relaxing, and comforting travel carry-on, and you appreciate the journey. You enjoy the journey as best you possibly can. And when you arrive, what a wonderful thing to have waited for, right? Number 2, learning how to truly listen. I'll provide a link to more detailed steps on how to become a truly strong and worthwhile listener, I guess you could say, someone who truly is listening and thus can engage with their audience and that person that's talking to them. Because as we know, when someone truly listens to what we're saying, we feel appreciated, we feel heard, and in some instances that relationship deepens. Even if it's a stranger, good listening skills are really important to establishing that social connection and bond. And it's a skill though, so it takes time. So that's number 2. Number 3, accrued compound interest on our savings, whether it's for retirement, whether it's when we're saving up for a long-term project or goal. This is something that we know takes time. And it's hard to believe that it actually can happen, that swing upward can actually happen eventually. But it does. It does in time. And so it's worth investing and having patience. Number 4. Okay, here we go. Here's a simple one, but my goodness, it's frustrating. A zit from hell that sprang up out of nowhere, and you just want it to go away now or yesterday. You kind of can't wish it away. You just have to tend to it, take care of it so that when it does finally go away, it doesn't leave a scar and you never think about it again because there's no reminder on your beautiful skin. Number 5, an attainment of an academic diploma or a skill certificate. This is common sense. We know it takes time, 4, 6, 10 years if you're going for a doctorate in some degrees. It takes time. But think about the gains. Think about what you're learning that can never be taken away from you. 6, learning a new language. If you're a regular listener of this podcast or of the Simply Luxurious Life blog, you know I am on this journey with my French language, and it has taken me a long time, and it's still taking me a long time, and I'm really not that great at it, but I am not going to give up. But think about even our native tongue. We have no memory of how we started learning our native tongue, but we didn't come out of the womb speaking English fluently. We listened, we observed, we were around people that spoke it. It took time. Number 7, that pesky debt that you're working to pay off, whether it's that good debt, student loans, your mortgage, maybe it's even a car, or that really annoying credit card debt. But we do know if we make a plan, if we have a schedule, and we stick to it, it can happen. Number 8, becoming a better communicator. Again, similar to listening, it's a skill. Now we can see it modeled as a kid and learn without even really realizing that we're learning. Or maybe we need to retrain ourselves because we didn't have that model. But we all can be better communicators. And it's a practice and it's a conscious decision. And it can happen, but it will take time. Number 9, loving well. Again, it's a skill. And it's exactly the same instance as communicating well. We can either see it modeled and unconsciously learn it, or we can choose when we realize we do not know how to, we can teach ourselves. We can go to someone who does, and we can then practice and be disciplined and be conscious and be responsive rather than reactionary, as we've talked about on a previous episode on this podcast. I'll provide a link to the difference. I'll provide a link to the episode where we talk about the difference between being responsive and being reactionary. Number 10, Mastering cooking techniques that appear impossible. Start with a simple slicing an onion, then moving to the seemingly absolutely impossible, flipping an omelet, and then to the absurdly, there's no way I can do this, building a sauce, multiple different varied sauces without it separating. We all can do these things. It just takes practice and patience. Number 11, mastering your mind. We all can do this. It takes time, yes, but we all can do it. In episode number 20 of this podcast, we talked about exactly how to do that. Number 12, discovering what ignites your soul, stirs your curiosities, and what, if pursued, will lead to your fullest potential and true contentment. This takes time, but it is absolutely worth the journey and the decision to seek this information out. So much of what we talk about in the archives of the lifestyle section and episodes of the podcast dive into all the different ways we can figure this out. So I encourage you to peruse the archives to find the post that speaks to you and what you need right now. Number 13, respect from others. This takes time. It's not something that's automatically given. If you truly want respect that's worth having, it takes time. Building that, revealing who you are, what kind of integrity you have, what kind of character you have, takes time in those moments where you are going to gain absolutely nothing. When you think nobody is watching, when you have done something years ago that someone finally discovers and they realize, wow, that is impressive. That's the person I thought she was or he was, but I didn't know until I saw that. Gaining that respect takes time, and thus your respect to someone may take time to build too, but it's worth it on both ends. Similarly, in number 14, trust from others, which is somewhat intertwined with respect, but they are different. Yes, we can give it blindly. That's not a bad thing always. Sometimes it's necessary, but trust is revealed again through someone's actions, through their character. And when they recognize that we are someone who's trustworthy, that loyalty continues to build, and ease begins to be established. And it's a beautiful thing that should never be taken for granted. And thus it is something that is truly magnificent and worth appreciating. And it's not something you can just go pick off the shelf immediately because you want it now. All right. Last but not least, number 15 is personal growth. I talked earlier this year about 22 different skills that we can develop that will help us to be the best version of ourselves. And I provide a link to that episode that you may be interested. Actually, I don't think it was an episode. It was a blog post, but I'll provide a link to it. And this is something that takes time. Number one, it starts with awareness of realizing, okay, I'm lacking something. I'm missing this skill. I can't figure out whatever it may be. And then you consciously, or me or us consciously, choosing to figure out how to acquire that skill. For example, emotional intelligence. A few others would be how to be productive, how to be self-reliant, how to be trusting, how to be self-sufficient. There's so many others. You can check that out on today's show notes, the link to that post. So those are the 15 things that I came up with today as a reminder to us all, to myself included, to give things time. As Leo Tolstoy reminds, the two most powerful warriors are patience and time. Part of the reason I savor the arrival of spring is, as I mentioned earlier this year in a post, the world around us reminds us that evolving into our better selves is possible. I mean, the year lets go of winter. It's no longer barren. The snow melts and things emerge from the ground that you thought were impossible to have survived that difficult time of year, the frigid temperatures. And the most important lesson that the arrival of spring teaches us through that observance is to wait. We must not rush what needs time to develop, to breathe, to heal in some instances, to gain its footing and establish its strong foundation so that when it does arrive, when it's ready to show you its beauty, as in those trees, it will last as long as it is most capable of lasting. Often I reflect on this life lesson that we're talking about today of giving what we seek, what we desire, what we are hopeful for as a litmus test for what Charles Stanley reminds in his quote, "Our willingness to wait reveals the value we place on the object we're waiting for." And it doesn't have to be necessarily a tangible object, but I think that quote makes it very clear. So the next time you find yourself frustrated that something isn't arriving quickly enough, ask yourself, how deeply do I truly want this? And perhaps if you still choose to be impatient and rush it and don't stick to that debt payoff schedule, pick at that zit, whatever it is, maybe you're not fully appreciative of what can happen if you do. Or maybe you're pursuing something that really is just a placeholder because you haven't found what you truly desire. On the other hand, if you reflect after asking that question and step back and recognize the need and willingness to be patient, you have discovered what for you is worth seeking. Perhaps for you, you have found your path, the journey you truly wish to be on. And what a wonderful realization, no? I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It was a little shorter, I realize, but I think with the coming of spring, it's something to reflect upon as we move forward. Because we may want everything right now. Spring's coming, the blooms are coming, but some things aren't going to arrive now, but some things still need time. So have patience and let the beauty unfold when it's ready. Now, for this week's Petit Plaisir, I have something delicious. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. This week's Petit Plaisir is a breakfast that always looks so fancy and simply elegant that, well, I was intimidated by it at first. Let me tell you my story for soft-boiled eggs and soldiers, or œufs et moulettes. Eggs and soldiers. Well, story goes something like this. I can remember vividly the first time I ordered eggs and soldiers, or œufs et moulettes. It was the summer of 2013, and I was in Paris for a week of vacation. I walked to Boulogne from my apartment in the Marais after already scouting the bakery out as one of my favorite in that particular neighborhood. And along with their famed sourdough rounds, croissants, pain au chocolat, and buttery tarte aux pommes, breakfast is also served at this particular location. I highly recommend it. It's on my city guide for the locations. Check that out if you're interested. And I was eager to partake. After ordering, the egg in its simple, elegant metal holder arrived, untouched. I paused for quite some time, knowing I should know what to do, but also knowing full well I did not have a clue how to eat this thing that had just been placed in front of me. What was I supposed to do with it? I looked around the dining area to see if by chance anyone else had ordered as I had. I even asked a familiar face from a previous visit who I knew spoke English, and their guess was as good as mine, as they were American and had never had that particular breakfast. Okay, so I had a small knife, and so I assumed. Now keep in mind, my French at this point in my travels was especially limited, nearly non-existent. I figured that knife must have something to do with how I was going to enjoy my breakfast. So needless to say, I did cut into my egg, and it wasn't pretty, but it was delicious. And the soldiers, or moulettes, were devoured along with my tea. Since 2013, I have been served this dish one other time by a European who again assumed I knew what to do with an egg in a holder. Trust me, I recognize I am quite a neophyte gourmand regarding this dish. And my lack of a simple understanding of how to eat properly an egg in a holder that is so beautifully presented frustrated me. But then I just became tickled by it and decided to investigate, learn, and make it myself. And voila, I have the recipe to share with you today, as well as some images. So it just involves some very simple ingredients, but there is one ingredient that I highly recommend you pick up to make it all the more decadent. So I am sharing with you a recipe for 2 soft-boiled eggs and soldiers to share with your loved one or your special guest, whomever you may be sharing your breakfast with. and it takes all of 10 minutes. I kid you not. Once you know the recipe, it's so simple. And the process is derived from Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking. Soft-boiled eggs following Julia Child's recipe will not lead you astray. My first attempt a few months ago, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I actually soft-boiled it perfectly? Woohoo! So needless to say, I said, okay, let's do this. I can make this recipe. So the first thing you want to do is get a pot of water, about 6 cups of water, maybe a little less, just enough that when you do put your eggs in the water, they'll be completely covered. So you're putting a pot of water on the stovetop and bringing it to a complete boil. Do not put any eggs in that water until it is in a full boil. Now, preferably, you're going to want to have your eggs be at room temperature. Just this past weekend, I was listening to an episode of Bon Appetit, their podcast, and it was all about eggs. It was fantastic. I came home hungry after listening to it. But their recommendation is the reason you want your eggs to be at room temperature is so that because it will just take a little bit longer to cook. I mean, they're going to be colder. So making sure that they are room temperature. Now, if your eggs are not at room temperature, a simple little trick that they shared was to run your eggs under hot water and in the sink just for about 30 seconds to a minute and let them sit for 10 minutes and they should be at room temperature. So you really aren't out a lot of time if your eggs are still in the refrigerator. Just give yourself 10 extra minutes, run them under hot water and let them sit for 10 and you're ready to go. Anyway, so you're bringing your water to boil. Once it's at boiling, gently drop your 2 eggs, or however many you want in all honesty, but in this case, we're just doing 2, your 2 eggs into the boiling water and set your timer for 6 minutes. Don't put anything else in the water. Nothing else. 6 minutes. As soon as that 6 minutes is up, drain the hot water from the pot. Keep the eggs in that pot. It'll just make it easier and fewer things to clean. And then Julia actually recommends that you just run cold water for a full minute over those eggs. Just let it overflow in the sink. Now that might be a little wasteful, obviously. So then just fill it up with cold water. Maybe after 30 seconds, put more cold water in there because that water probably got a little bit warm with those warm eggs. But what you're doing is stopping the cooking of the egg because they're going to continue to cook. Just like when you blanch broccoli or vegetables after you've brought them to a quick boil in hot water, you're stopping the cooking. All right. And at this point, you can take them out of the cold water after you've run them for 1 minute and place them someplace secure, dry them off. And now you're going to get your toast or your soldiers ready. Now, I went to my local bakery and picked up a loaf of brioche. You can pick up your favorite bread. Make it fresh, make it artisan, whatever you love. I love brioche. The more butter, the better, right? Now, it's hard to make brioche in the sense it takes a lot of time. It's easy, actually, but it takes a lot of time. So if you have brioche in the house that you've made, even better. But most bakeries have brioche. Take 2 slices, put it in the toaster, toast to your liking. Once they're out, you can put them, I would actually slice them first into about 3 centimeters or half an inch, long, narrow slices. If you want to put butter on them, you can. And then serve each egg in an egg holder. I provide a link to a few ideas of where to get egg holders, but most kitchen places have them. Even some grocery stores have them. And I'm keeping my eye out for some unique ones at different antique shops or consignment shops, different things. Because you never know. They always seem to be they always seem to be everywhere, and you never really need an egg holder, you don't think, but then you get a recipe like this and you think, oh, I should get a really cute egg holder because it's quite the presentation factor. Anyway, I picked up a few here in Bend at the Newport Market, and they were just about $2 each. Very inexpensive. But I did provide a link to La Cousset's different colors of egg holders if you would like to look at those. Present them with about 3 small slices of bread, so 3 soldiers for each egg. And how do you cut the top off? Well, as you heard, the first time I did it, it was ugly, but the egg was the egg and it was still delicious. There's a lot of things. You can just take a butter knife and just tap, 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 then slice it through. Who cares if the edges are ragged? That's fine. Or there are egg toppers, and I provided a link to that in today's show notes. Williams-Sonoma has one. Most kitchen online stores have it. Your local kitchen shop may have it too. Some people like that. Some people don't. You could also use kitchen shears or just your favorite sharp knife. cut just low enough into the top that you're barely touching the top of the yolk so you can see that yellow goodness. And then if you want, you can sprinkle a little salt and pepper. Some people like dill on their egg, so some fresh dill or some finely diced scallions. That's it. Dip, enjoy, scoop. If you have a cocktail spoon, that's the best size of spoon to use. And they're also at your kitchen shops as well. That's it. It's so simple. And it's, like we said earlier, it looks elegant, but it honestly only takes 6 minutes to boil, 1 minute to cool, toast the toast, and you're eating. I just think it's something I should not have been intimidated by, and I'm laughing at it now, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, because there is no reason to be intimidated by an egg. Seriously, Shannon. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast, where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe. Anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Now remember, there is another new episode for you to listen to. This is episode 150, but there's another new episode 151. The show notes for this episode are the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 150. And now you can skip to episode 151 to listen to that one. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. To stay caught up on the most recent podcasts, blog posts, and receive exclusive news as well as an extra dose of inspiration, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's weekly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or your morning coffee, just in time to jumpstart the weekend. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée!